Good morning, Joe.
Hello.
How are you?
Not too bad.
Good. Is it sunshiny in Avon?
Uh, Actually, no. Overcast and frickin' cold.
We've got the frickin' cold, but we've got the sunshine. It makes a little difference.
Yeah, that was yesterday. I think it's all overcast. A little bit of flurries.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait for spring. For it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's 6 weeks off. I think is what I heard.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've got my colleague George on here today. George, George.
Hey, George. Not too bad. Oh, so yeah, you're familiar. I guess the next week and a half is going to be really cold. Yeah, I prefer to just be a couple days worth of that stuff and then be done with it. That's true. Yeah, very true.
We appreciate you taking time to do this today, Joe. And I guess Jake kind of threw me your way.
Hmm.
Remind me, is Jake family? Are you guys family or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. You brothers?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, we know your company is impressive as can be, and we think a lot alike about how we handle customers and approach business. So we look forward to getting to know you a little bit.
All right.
Before I go into who we are and do the whole, you know, Reese Enterprise background on us, just let me tell you, we meet with a lot of people, and this today is just an introduction. It's not a sales push. We really
Right.
do want to get to know you. And can you share with us a little bit about yourself so we know where you're coming from, what you've done in IT, and
Oh, and I've been a long time programmer, um, and always been kind of a computer nerd. So I've done most of the programming of stuff that we use here, and yeah, I mean that's about it. We're up to 18.
okay? So you've got how many? I'm sorry, how many endpoints do you have?
We're probably about, if I had to guess, 18 to 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, I have to excuse myself for just a minute. George, will you please talk to him about this slide and give me just a second? I've got a cough coming on. Can you do that? Thanks.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, George. I'm sorry, I had a cough coming on and I had to excuse myself. So the Reese brothers realized that in order for the companies that they had done so well by as their managed service provider, in order for them to have cost-effective, um, high-level, impenetrable cybersecurity, they needed to build their own SOC. And that is why DataGuard was created. So we are able to provide top-notch cybersecurity for a very, very affordable price. And they did it to create their own SOC for their own customer base. And that's always a smart reason to build a business, when the customers are telling you what they need and you're supplying that very need. So that's how we got to that.
Oh yeah.
So as we're looking at breiner, this was the headlines of the things you do. Did I get it right, Joe?
Yep.
And can I ask you, what is your main line? Is it die cut? Did I read right that the main money maker for the whole company is the cutting that you do?
Yeah, that's probably the main thing.
Okay. I was impressed with the industries you're in. I didn't realize you did everything from making sure we weren't poisoned by the pipes and the what is it, the pumps and all of that, those filtration systems that you produce, and then take it up about 12 notches to hospitals with anesthesia masks and heart valves. And so you are in quite a few industries, aren't you?
Yeah, we get around, as I like to say.
Yeah. In looking at what is proprietary about what you do, are there specifications that you're guarding for the way you produce and manufacture what you do? I know you do a lot of made to fit and just-in-time manufacturing. Whoops. But is it also proprietary specifications and things that you have?
Not really. Occasionally we run into some prints. So we're more or less a job shop. So we're doing customer specifications. So occasionally we'll run into, an ITAR print that we need to take more care with. But that's really about it. We don't have very much beyond that.
How many ITAR clients would you say? Did you have one or two contracts like that, or is that at 30% of your business, or what percentage would you say?
I'd say probably 30%, but not all of that would be ITAR. They're just specific lines in those business categories.
Very good. We are ITAR compliant, so that is good to know that we are able to support that.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the question. Have you ever been compromised by a data breach, or do you know somebody in an industry that has had one of those nightmares?
Yeah, we have not, but I do know people that have, yeah.
And were they up for a few weeks? Did they sleep?
Yeah, it took them a little bit.
Yeah. I guess our question to you is, what is your management's opinion of their greatest risk if breiner was ever attacked and seized?
Well, it's just to get back. I mean, the biggest nightmare is just the encryption stuff, where they encrypt everything. That's probably our biggest threat for us.
Okay. Yeah, some people say it's operations alone, just not being able to function. Others have different requirements and compliances. And yours, you say the encryption piece. Okay.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't be able to do anything. The more paperless we go, the more we rely on being able to get at the data.
Right. Well, and then once you're backing up, you've got to catch up. So you're not even able to stay on top of your day-to-day. You're going backwards, trying to reconstruct or recreate what you lost.
Right.
If you're able to restore it, it's a nightmare. It's just better to never be breached. How long have you figured that you could be down and offline and still maintain your operation? Have you ever thought of those things? Some people say 5 minutes. Some people say 5 days.
We'd be in the days range.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just our internal stuff.
Like antivirus and your basic tools, IT tools.
Yeah. Yeah, and we do backups that allow us to come back quickly and some of those kind of things.
Okay. Well, we've got some good news. We'll share some of this with you. When something does break, who do you call? Do you have anybody externally you use, or do you pretty much handle it yourselves?
We just handle it ourselves.
Okay. And did you say how many besides you are working on IT things that may go amok?
It's just me for the most part. Yeah.
Just you. Wow. Okay. The Lone Ranger. All right. Good to know. So here's what we actually encourage you to do in a management meeting is sit down and think about these 4 questions. How many days could we afford to be inaccessible, to have our technology driven work inaccessible? How much money would our CFO write a check for if we were ransomed? How highly should we prioritize a data and operational risk security program? And then if our data was breached, what compliances or standards? Yours would be your ITAR contracts, but you might have a few others. What would, if they were not properly tracked and documented, could shut you down? And it's interesting, a lot of management teams, they're not in denial completely. They know that the breaches are becoming astronomical out there, and everyone's a target. So they know to ask these questions, but a lot of times we just don't sit and talk about it because it's painful. It's like preparing end of life conversation type thing,
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to have it. So this is really important to have because it then dictates how you're going to craft moving forward with some kind of a plan besides just disaster recovery. Everybody needs a disaster recovery plan, but our goal for all of our customers is they never have to take it off the shelf and use it because we're able to capture, identify, and see a breach coming before it ever wreaks havoc. So have you ever sat in a management meeting where these kinds of things were discussed, Joe?
Sure.
Okay. And do you know, have you talked about what you'd pay for the company if it got ransomed?
Oh, I wouldn't pay anything. I'd just reset everything and go with my data.
Okay. You are trusting your backups.
I test my backups. Yes.
Okay. I said you were trusting, but you said you test them?
Yes,
That's
of course.
Good. That's good. And you have them on and off site, I assume.
Of course, yes.
You are aware that the criminals are now getting clever enough that they can embed or plant a virus and then implode it later at a later date in your backups? Have you heard of this?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it's getting dicier and dicier. It is.
Yep.
Several of the big heads out there and big companies are all pretty much coming up with the same point. And that is that it takes serious incidents, really serious incidents, before a firm will engage a cyber security partner.
Mm-hmm.
Villasenor says that at DPR Construction. Phil Weaver says, the impact of a cyber incident is underestimated at all time. There's just a lack of understanding or realization it can happen. And then Black and Veatch, I love how he says they don't realize how precious the situation is, how few thumbs they have in the dike. So these are all the big guys that have gotten hit and then after the fact raise the flag. And you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that IT guy, right? So what we try to do is make it possible for companies to leverage for a very, very low price what we have available, so you can leverage our expertise, our cyber specialists, our artificial intelligence, and you could do it for pennies on the dollar. And that is why DataGuard and many of our competitors are out there, is so that expertise that is not something that any company can afford to have in-house is available to be leveraged and used by companies like yours.
Mm-hmm.
This is the package basically that qualifies us, we feel, to secure and protect your data. artificial intelligence. That's the 24/7, 365. And have you ever been in a SOC, or do you understand how a security operations center works?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. So we have our own, and that is wonderful. And we set up protocols. So if the IT people we support want to be woken up at 2 a.m., we'll do it. If
Right.
you don't want to be woken up and you'd like an email that says this is happening and this is what we're doing about it, and at 7 a.m. we'll give you instructions about what you can do on your end, we'll do that. So, you can set up all kinds of protocols, but basically you've got on your watch 24/7 somebody. We do tailored solutions with the whole idea against the NIST standard that will raise your security maturity level. Any company we work with's maturity level from about a 1, which is where most of them kind of hover, to a 3, which is excellent. And that's appreciated by your insurance company, by any partners you're working with. So we get you up to a NIST level 3 in these 5 core areas of identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And that would be wonderful for you to have that kind of support, I think, particularly when you're doing this by yourself. We have the regulatory compliance positioning. That's whatever requirements are to you and your company and industry, so that those are documented and you can prove that you're all over that. We have a program manager for each one of our customers that manages all the documentation and the meetings monthly and quarterly, so that you have everything you need in the blueprint for how we're raising that maturity level, that security, cybersecurity awareness and performance security level. And all of that documentation is invaluable. And it's pretty succinct. We do a good job of keeping it simple and really using that as a blueprint to move ourselves forward together with the firm and to collaborate smoothly. So we're not in your way and under your feet, but we're really lifting things off your shoulders. That's the whole idea. And then, I know you know this, that 90% of most breaches comes from your own people. Unfortunately, you know this, yes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just inadvertently they will leave the barn door open and click on an attachment they're not supposed to, or whatever, and there you go. Then there you're off and running, and a virus has just been imploded, and it was somebody in your own organization, which is really unfortunate. So we have a pretty engaging training program that's online. We have a gal that runs that. She's excellent, and the training is top shelf, and we do it in a fun way, and we engage your people, and we circle back and document that everyone is getting it, that they're taking the little tests and passing them. If they don't, we circle back and make sure they do, and use a little humor. And really our whole goal is to provide your employees with an employee benefit, because learning about cybersecurity actually becomes an employee benefit to them while they're becoming an asset to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we call that your own human firewall. Those are the 5 parts of our package.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about that? Does that make sense to you?
No big questions. So one of the biggest avenues is attachments. So is there something special that you're doing with attachments other than the awareness and teaching people not to click everything?
Sure. There are things we can show you and that our people do to mitigate some of those problems that would typically happen. And a lot of it is in the training. It is. We do specific phishing campaigns that speak directly to breiner. This is how we would do it. Directly to your needs, the way you are approached by your bank, by vendors, by people that you're needing to send money to, by customers. So those phishing campaigns would speak directly to what your people are used to seeing, and would try initially to trick them or show them what they need to watch out for. And in the course of that training with those specific phishing campaigns designed for breiner, they would get it. But in addition, I know there are some tools that our operational group uses and they're able to detect whenever attachments are an issue and stop it right in its tracks before it can go, blow open and cause you a real breach. I can't speak specifically to those, but our operations guy can, and that would be a second meeting. If we take a little deep dive, he can answer those specific questions about how we approach that.
Okay.
So what is your immediate feeling about potentially engaging a partner? I mean, you've been doing this by yourself for a long time. You clearly know what you're doing with your backups and your antivirus and all of that. And you know that there are more problems coming down the pike. It's gotten pretty bad. This would be a preventive measure you took. What is your immediate thought about this? Do you go straight to what does it cost? Is that what you want to know, or are you thinking about the technical side of it and how valuable that would or wouldn't be to you? What do you need me to send you in the way of follow-up information for your considerations before we meet a second time if we were going to do a deep dive?
Well, cost would be a big factor on that. The individual parts make sense to me. Getting some information on some of the particulars.
Like the attachments.
Yeah, that's a big one. And then going to bad websites. So those are the two big ways that people are going to get into our building.
Yeah.
So the training aspect is helpful on that. We don't have a whole lot of compliance stuff.
Do you have policies? Do you have a policy? Because we help you write that. We actually have that and can plug that in, and that's very helpful. I know insurance companies and vendors are starting to ask sometimes for the companies they interact with to prove that they are documenting and they're doing cybersecurity and documenting. That policy piece is really important, and we can help with that. We do a policy piece.
Yeah. So yeah, that's mainly where I am. A lot of it would be cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't we, while we're all here and we've got our calendars and we've got our 15 minutes, I don't want to go much longer than what I asked for. Let's find a second meeting date and time, and I will send you a few things to review, to look at and think about before our next meeting.
I can do that.
When should we try to do this again? Let's see, I'm in my calendar here.
Let's look at like the
Want to do a week from today, or a Thursday, the 11th, maybe?
I was going to say Thursday the 18th.
Ah, okay. We can go out.
Yep.
I'm looking good that day after 9 o'clock. You can pick it.
Yeah. When we do this, when we say 10:30.
10:30 on the 18th.
Yeah.
All right. I will send an invite, and we will go from there.
Okay.
We'll continue the dialogue. Does that sound good?
Yep. Sounds fine.
Okay, Joe. George, do you have anything you want to interject here? Okay. Well, we will look forward to talking with you again on the 18th, and I'll shoot you an email, Joe.
Okay, sounds good. You guys have a good one, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
You do the same. Stay warm.
Yeah, trying.
All right.
We'll talk to you. Bye-bye.